Welcome to Deep Sky Deep Skydiving. Deep, deep. But here we are, deep skydiving.
Skeep diving.
Skeep diving.
Yeah.
Deep skydiving, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
The podcast.
All right. So welcome back to What Did Jimmy Say? Woo woo. Last time we clapped, we gotta do that. There we go. Woo. All right. So it's Dara and AJ back with another one. So before I put out there what the topic is, well, I'm not gonna put it out there. I'm gonna let the slide put it out there. I do want to play this clip, and I'm just gonna pass the mic around. I just want y'all to share your thoughts and ideas about what was said in this clip.
What I didn't tell them is when you have the mic. What I didn't say is when you have the mic, make sure that you say your name first. So every time you get it, Dara, boom, boom, boom.
AJ. Make sure the TV. Yeah, my hair wasn't that long back then.
I guess people who are married right now, who've been married for 25, 30 years, who are not at all connected to their husbands or their wives, and they're miserable.
I don't think you could be married 30 years and you was like not connected to your spouse.
Yes, it is possible, honey.
That's crazy.
Okay, well, leave it in the comments, y'all.
Unless y'all just got married, like it was like, forget it. We ain't never going to divorce, but been separated.
Some people you can literally do tasks and participate in life with somebody who you're not connected to. It's almost like a business transaction. Like the house is gonna be run perfectly, like the kids are gonna be good, like the money's in the bank, but you really don't connect with them. A lot of people cheat because of that.
Yep.
And they have affairs with, people outside the home. Because in their mind's eye, it's like, well, I don't want to, sometimes it's about the kids. Sometimes it's because everything is very comfortable. Yeah, I agree. Some people stay, for different reasons. Like, we've been together this long.
Just going straight up past it.
Hello, this is Diamond. Just go into what my opinion is. Okay, so this is Diamond. I completely agree with the statement that you can fully be in a long-term relationship with someone and just be completely disconnected. I grew up in, fortunately, a two-parent household, but unfortunately, it was a very disconnected household. My parents functioned amazingly as parents, amazingly as grandparents, and they stayed together for the children, which then turned into staying together for the grandchildren. And it just went on for that, 41 years. And actually, my parents got divorced the same month that we got married, and it was just so funny. After 41 years, they were like, this is it, because they had been so disconnected for such a long time. But I'm so happy that they did get a divorce because they are beautiful people separately, but together it was just a storm. They made beautiful, decisions and raised a fantastic family, but just the love between them two just was not there. So I do know for a fact that it's possible to have, successful on the outside marriage, but then on the inside it's just a complete disconnect. So I agree with the statement.
Jalen, I agree with your statement as well regarding being in a marriage and not being, I wouldn't even say not being happy, having no connection with your partner. It's definitely possible. A lot of the times I believe it could be just because you're so used to that system that you kind of created. So whether it be for the kids or cheaper to keep her, because it takes money to divorce. So a lot of times you may not have the money to, or just don't have the mental capacity to consistently work at that to divorce. And thinking about so many factors, it's like you put those things aside, and a lot of people get complacent as well. So you can kind of work through not having that connection. Some people cheat. Some people come to the agreement of having open relationships. My parents had friends that agreeably had outside partners, but they were okay with it because they couldn't do do it for one another. However, they may have had money tied up, businesses tied up, so that's a lot to go through when it comes to creating that union of marriage. So it's definitely possible, but it could definitely be detrimental, like to your mental, like as individuals. To her statement, her parents is the perfect example of like not being connected, but in this day and time, they're like new people. So because they don't have to deal with one another. You talking about 40 plus years of being in the same house, same attitude, same nitpicking, things like that. So to see that is an eye opener for even me, because I've known her parents for over 12 years now. So it's an eye opener for me.
My apologies to the people. We do have a new couple here. So I would like you to just introduce yourselves, you know, how long you guys been together, married, whatever it is you like to share before you share your opinion.
My name is Jason. My wife's name is
Sparkle, I'll say AKA Lashida.
We've been together since the dawn of time. We've been married for 6 years, and we've been together for 13 years. All right, so a little closer. All right, here we go. So my comment is that I don't think I could do it. I do think it is possible. But I was just thinking when I was listening to everybody else answer the question so far is that, like with me, I will be trying everything in my power to try to connect, to make that connection again. I don't think that I could. I just don't think I could end up in that situation. But I do believe that it is possible that could happen. But then I was just also thinking that sometimes marriage isn't about, you being happy. It's about, doing your duty, and staying together, because it's bigger than, it's bigger than you. Especially like when you have family. That might be why, I don't know your parents, but that might be why they, hung in there so long, even though they might have been miserable. But sometimes it's about, seeing the bigger picture. But as for me, I don't think I could do that at all. And I know that wasn't a question, but that's just where my mind went when I was thinking about it.
It wasn't a question. It was
Sparkle, before I comment on that, I just think it's important to share that in our marriage, we're a blended family. So we talk and discuss about that a lot. It's a different dynamic. But I do agree with the comment, because my mother and father, similar situation. I'm the oldest of 5. I could see that they were not happy together. My siblings could not see that. But my father stayed until we were all grown, felt like he needed to it got to the point where I asked my father, why are you still here? Because I could see that they didn't do anything couples do together. And they were, I guess, common law married more so before they actually got married. When they did get married, I was probably 30 by the time they had gotten married, and they were together the entire time. And I was like, why are you all getting married now? It's like it seemed to be fine. Why? And then you get married, and then like 3 years later, you separate. But it is very much so possible.
Hey, this is Kim. I agree with Jason. I can't, I won't, I will not give it to somebody else because I'm not doing it. But I think some people do it just to say they are married because they don't want to be alone, and they could be used to that person for as long as they are to not want to get a divorce, and so they're just settling for what could be, what was, what they're praying or hoping it should be or whatever. I have a friend that she asked her husband, he cheated on her because I guess she gained weight or something, but she didn't want to get a divorce. She was just like, can we just have an open marriage? You don't satisfy me, so that's why the sex isn't good and I'm not into it. So I think if we have an open marriage, it'll be better, or you can do you and I can do me. And I'm just like, what? Like, I'm not sharing. Who says that? Like, who does that? That's you. Okay, that's you. But then I also said, that's not God, you know. All those soul ties into that's too much. But, I mean, God's not for divorce either. And so I'm like, you're fighting. You're fighting till death do you part. You're fighting. And I will fight for this one, honey.
That's right. Come on. Come on, brothers. You already know your wife is crazy.
Yeah, hold it like that, because it's a button on the side. My man.
This is Van. I totally agree with the statement. You can, but like my wife said, I couldn't do that.
Who's your wife?
Kim.
Okay,
Goodness. But yeah, it's for me. It wasn't a marriage, but I've seen like people that's been in relationships and they're just there for the kids, and it's like, and like ask the question, why y'all together? Like, why are you here? Like, it's pointless. Like, just be there for the child. Don't worry about y'all trying to make it work. Y'all not married, so. But yeah, for me, I just look at it as to me, I look at it as being like a toxic situation. Like, I couldn't see myself waking up next to somebody that I don't like. So it's kind of like, yeah, I couldn't do it, but I know it can be done. So yeah,
This is Dara, and even watching that, I still agree with myself. But no, what I was gonna say was not to be the contrarian, but I heard what you guys said in regards to like you not being able to do it, and I heard you too, Van, in regards to you not being able to do it. And a part of me would love to like make that sort of like declarative like statement, but like Jason pointed out something very important. A lot of people believe that, you know, marriage and happiness are supposed to be one and the same, and that's not the case. I don't believe that. It does seem very fairy tale for me to say that, right? Like, you're not married and so forth and so on. But I feel like that is the reason why I take it so seriously, is because I know that like I could marry a wonderful man and then he, you know, something happens and he no longer wants the marriage, but I'm married though, right? Or he decides to go do whatever. And I'm just only saying him because I can control my part, right? I know who I answer to, right? God. So there's a certain level of accountability that I have just for the fact that like I serve God, right? But I'm thinking about how would I exist in a marriage like that? Could I exist in a marriage like that? And to be frank, I can. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because if we're talking transactional things, if we're talking about the fact that like I'm not making my husband my God, then I kind of have to go about, like I still kind of have to go about life, right? I have to still, you know, if we have children, I have to still make sure that the family is okay. I have to still, you know, and kind of like take out my happiness, for lack of better wording. I don't believe that my husband is supposed to provide me with happiness, right? That's something that I have to provide for myself, right? God provides me with joy, but happiness is something that I can literally do. I can start collecting stamps, things like that, right? I'm just giving you a wild example. And moo-moos. But my point is just basically that I think that it is possible, and I think that we've seen it happen so many times where there have been people who've been married for 50 and 60 years who have just been going through the motion because it's a bigger picture. I believe that they kind of understand, and I don't think that they are, you know, laying down, taking anything or whatever. I think that they see that like life isn't just about them. Like they have things that they have to carry out because God has told them to carry out those things. So if that means that we have to sleep in a separate bedroom because this is the union that God has brought together, this is something that we promised him that we would do. You know what I mean? Like, it just sounds really scary. And that's honestly one of the things that I'm scared of, is just being in a shell of a marriage. But I do feel that like one, trouble don't last always. I believe in mountain peaks and valleys, right? That you not always gonna be in a valley, right? But I also realize the reality of if the other person doesn't want to work on it, then what are you gonna do? So I'm just kind of like in the middle, but I just don't, I don't want to say that like I couldn't do it because I don't want to make that sort of like hard statement. I don't want to do it, but I can't say that I couldn't do it.
Well, thank you, because you kind of just ushered in exactly what this is going to be about, and I'm going to let our next guest tell us what this topic is about to be about. And to clear the air, this was about 9-10 months ago when I said that, and my naive brain in that instant wasn't thinking of situations where like, let's stay together for the kids and everything. When you were saying people have been married for 50 years and then get a divorce, I was just in my own head thinking like, we're staying together. We loved each other this whole time. We had this nice marriage. Now we beefing. Now I can't stand you no more. And let's go. And I'm like, if you had 50 years, this is why I said what I said. I do agree with you guys that you can't be in a marriage that long and not be connected, especially with the scenarios that y'all just shared. So with that being said, let's hear from Ann, because you just mentioned something about commitment. This clip actually is from a couple of sessions ago that was dealing with commitment. I don't know if y'all, were they here when Juan and Melanie was here? All right. So this is Juan, and he's speaking about exactly what we'll be talking about today.
Let me just say this is Juan speaking. Relationships are supposed to produce. First relationship that we see, and not to be all biblical, but now that you know we're pastors. Adam and Eve, one of the first commands God gave them was to do what? Be fruitful and multiply. Anytime you come together in a relationship, you're supposed to produce something. And it's not always something that is physical. It could be something as simple as, but also complicated as, the perfect picture of love. What does your relationship gift to the world? And when you commit to that, that could be a reason to keep you in it. And of course, we brought natural children into the world, but we have a lot of spiritual children. We also have businesses that we have done together, ministry. There's things that she has in her heart to do that she can't do it without me. And not to say that I'm everything. There's things that I'm doing in my life that I can't do without her. And the truth is, she could fulfill some of those things with another husband, because what's in her heart is in her heart. My position is to compliment her. What's in my heart is in my heart. Her position is to compliment me, and then we do it together.
So today we will be, and y'all were hitting on it also, especially you, Jason. Today we're going to be talking about producing, being fruitful, right? I want y'all to do this for me. I'm going to explain this. What is being fruitful, right? So it's funny that he said relationships are supposed to produce, right? And he's talking about being fruitful. I don't know why this is. This just came to me. I don't even know why this makes sense. But when you go to the grocery store, for some reason, the fruit department is called the produce. I don't even, why? And now that I'm thinking about it, because what's being fruitful? Being fruitful is a tree doesn't produce bananas and apples or whatever for itself. Being fruitful is you're producing something that's going to benefit somebody else, that's going to benefit your partner, or that's going to benefit the world. He said, what does your relationship give to the world? So being fruitful is something, fruits nourish, they give energy, they vitalize, it's healthy. So it's going to be something, you're producing fruit that gives, that produces, right? On the flip side, because again, we're talking about relationships. We're here to build relationships. I know y'all heard me say this a couple times about law of entropy. It's actually law of thermodynamics, but it's the one that talks about entropy. You know what it is. Good. So I'm just going to read it for you guys. Entropy is the second law of thermodynamics, states that as one goes forward in time, the net entropy, which is the degree of disorder, of any isolated or closed system will always increase or at least stay the same. Entropy is a simple measure of disorder and affects all aspects of our daily lives. And so I'm saying this because it's actually the opposite of being fruitful. And later on, y'all probably gonna be like, man, this dude rapping. But it's something else I'm going to explain. But what happens with entropy in regards to relationships, and I mentioned this before, but we're going to go deeper in this as we talk about what we are producing, like how are we being fruitful. What happens with entropy is the same thing y'all were mentioning about these relationships, these long-term 30, 40, 50-year relationships, right? Where at some point in time, they lost connection. And at some point in time, because neither one of them continued to try to add something to it, entropy set in. So the relationship just started to degrade more and more and more. It's because no outside force was giving energy to it. That's what entropy, that's how that exists in relationships. So this is what I want y'all to do. Y'all write this down. I don't want each one of y'all, I don't want y'all to discuss this with each other. I want to hear what y'all say about your relationship, each individual. Like, what fruit does your relationship produce? Hey, you need a pen and paper. My bad, boss, man. You take this one. Yes, sir. I give y'all some time to write. I'll make a little noise or something so there ain't no dead space on this recording. Hopefully I don't get hit with no copyright restrictions for this. It's like, but what fruit does your relationship produce? I don't even want to give y'all any ideas because we're going to end up coming back to this question as we, go through this thing. But I just want y'all to think about this, especially regarding what y'all was saying earlier about couples that go for so long and then die. Like, I want to see everybody relationship strive. It actually hurts my heart. I don't care how bad your relationship was or is, it actually hurts my heart to see people get divorced. Like, it really, when I hear about people like, man, it does. I'm a tough guy. I'm a man's man. I'm a manly man. But when I like breakups and divorces, when I hear people like, man, we getting divorced, I'm like, dang, man, ain't no way to make it work. I agree. I do agree. Yeah. Yeah. Wrong reasons for getting married. Yeah. All right, I'm about to pay. You ready? You ready? Look, so you don't even have, if you can't think of anything, you don't even have to have an answer. I promise you'll have an answer by the end of it though. So here, what fruit does your relationship produce?
Yes, alrighty. So, Diamond, what fruit does our relationship bring? The question is very abstract, so my answer is going to be a little abstract. So I wrote down words. I started with chemistry, humor, integrity, love, evolution and growth, intimacy and truth. I believe that those are the fruits of our relationship. Oh, Diamond.
Jalen, Diamond, answer for me.
Which way I hold this? This is Jason, and I wrote that, basically, our marriage is, when I had a conversation with my wife, and we were just thinking about the people who we know that are married, and I asked her, do you know any other, what you would call or deem a healthy marriage? And the answer was no. So I told her, we have to be that marriage. We have to be the marriage that other people look to see what a good marriage looks like. And I know our marriage produces just even when people just look at us, and it's the way I live my life. I try to live my life in a way that people will ask me, like, why you always like this? Or why you do this? Why you do that? And then I can minister to them because I know it's all God. But we often just counsel my friends. I counsel my friends, my coworkers, just tell them basically what's been working for us, and that's putting God first. And I think that's about it. But I just know we wanted to be the marriage. We wanted to be that example that people just look for us. We're not looking to anybody else, because when I looked, I didn't see anybody. So we know right from wrong. We try to live according to the word of God, and we just go forth from there.
This is Sparkle. I agree with my husband, of course. I hope folks would agree with their spouses. And just to add on to that, I would say that we believe our marriage is and should be a ministry, as my husband was saying. And we model that. We would be in places, at a family event, and you'll see that person walk in without their spouse, and it seems weird. Or anytime I go to a memorial service, I tell my husband I don't have to say a word. He just comes as a support in that environment. The words that came to mind for me, and I would also say we aim to model what we want our sons to provide in their marriages, or what marriages should look like, as well as our daughter, what she should expect from her husband and what that marriage should look like. The words I had written down was, to me, our marriage provides spiritual and personal growth. I feel like we're better and stronger together. It produces knowledge and education. We're continuing to learn together, as well as pass that knowledge down to our kids. It produces peace, kindness, and love. Our home is our peace. We refuse to let anything disturb that. And the environment has to be that for us and our kids.
Well said, Sparkle. Well said. This is Kim. What I say our relationship produces is success, agape love, growth spiritually, a testimony, honor, power couple, hope, and laughter.
I like those words. This is Van. When I thought of fruitful, the things that I thought our relationship produces is knowledge, encouragement, love, commitment, honor, growth, happiness, fun, trust, and drive.
You bet.
This is Dara, and I'm gonna say this in regards to the relationship that Asia and I have. I believe that the fruits that we produce are, or the fruit that we produce are conversations amongst people. So the podcast, right? That's what we want to do. Get some conversations started, maybe ones that you wouldn't otherwise have, just to, start some movement, start some motion. Love beyond understanding, because I would say we weren't necessarily night and day when we met, but just very different understandings of the world. And I'm grateful that I was able to, and I can speak for myself, but I feel like it's the same thing with him. Even when we disagree, even when we're bothered by one another, we can still love each other just off the basis of, like, you deserve love. That's it. Realization of the space that we take up. I feel like AJ and I understand each other's humanity. We know that we were created by something way bigger than ourselves. And because of that, it's like, I can't make you larger than, or I can't even make myself larger than everything else that's going on around here, right? Everything that we are around, or every person that we're around, deserves love. And that's what I love about, our relationship, is that we actualize each other's humanity. Like, I see you as a human being. It's not that you're AJ, you got locks, and as I said, like, it doesn't matter if you're successful, whatever the case, like, you deserve love, so.
Yeah, it's definitely not because I have locks, because she tells me I look better without them. But I do concur with everything she just said. Sparkle was, as soon as she started speaking, God just hit me with a question, and I didn't have this in there, but I feel like he really wants me to ask this. How is your marriage? Everybody's married, right? Yeah. How is your marriage insured? Now, I don't even know what that means, but I know the Spirit gave it to me. And so as soon as Kim started talking, I said, all right, but what do you mean insured, God? And it was like, your car is insured. Like, your house is insured. Like, why does something need to be insured? And I was thinking, so if you get in an accident, your car can get replaced or indemnified. Like, your loss, whatever happened, whatever detriment happened, you get retributed for it. You get made whole again. And whatever he wants, that's what we're going to go with. But how is your marriage insured?
Jalen, I believe a marriage can be insured, most importantly, by effort. The moment you stop getting effort, the moment it becomes a slippery slope. So, and it comes from both parties, but I feel like the effort, whether it's figuring out what issues y'all have with one another, if it could be connection issues, financial issues, how could y'all put y'all brains together and create a solution to that problem? But the moment it's one-sided and one person is like mentally not there, or they just not willing to, meet you halfway or do their part when it comes to creating a plan, I feel like that's when it becomes less insured than before. It may not be completely uninsured, but I feel like it takes two to make it go right. So the best thing you can do, put your best foot forward, continue to give effort, and of course that comes with communication as well, but more importantly, effort.
Diamond, I would say that our relationship is ensured by knowing that we have a greater purpose. Before we were married, when we were just kids, I would always tell Jalen I truly and honestly always felt like he was like my soulmate. Literally the first day of my 12th grade year, walked into high school, seeing him, he was a new kid. I'd never had seen him before. I literally turned to my best friend and was like, that's my future husband. And he was like, I genuinely always felt like he was just that person for me. So I feel as though our destiny, or our, how do I put it? I used to tell him he was the other half of my star, because I felt as though in order for a star to be completed, it had to have that other half. And in order for us to get to like this eternal glory or what have you, we needed each other in order to complete a mission. I don't know what the mission is, but it's something that draws me to him, that makes me feel like there's something deeper. I always knew that, like, I love him, yes, but there's a purpose behind it. And it's like we can grow together in business and as a family and, husband, wife, mother, father. It's like I always seen the things in him that were like, I know that I love this. I know that I can weather the storm no matter what happens, because I believe in our love and I believe in him and, all the things. And I know he wouldn't do anything to jeopardize our relationship or to hurt me. And I feel like with that security allows me to keep going with the insurance of, I know that we have a purpose.
Well said.
Jason, and I was just thinking when you say he's the other half of your star, I say this all the time. I feel like me and my wife, tag team champions of the world. It's like we the tag team champions of the world. I just feel like any task, if we team up, we can handle it. But I feel like our marriage is ensured by God, my faith in God. Because I'm like a firm believer, if something isn't right in my household and my marriage, it's my fault. And I know, like, God is going to deal with me. It's not, because I've learned, like, I can't just react, you know, because God is going to say, well, what did you do? You know, just like how my father used to say to me, God comes to me, he is my father. So he's like, I hear you, all that happened, but how did you react? What did you do? So I just continue to put my faith in God and have strong faith. And I wrote something else. And I just said, you know, when I focus on, I just feel like if stuff is going crazy around me, I need to get closer to God. So if things are going a little haywire or something's going on in my marriage, first I just get closer to God. I say, God, what do you want me to do? And I've learned to sit and just wait on the Lord, just wait. Because we like to rush and do things in our time and say, I want to go ahead and handle this now. But I've learned if you don't tell me to move, just don't move. And things just work themselves out. I just trust God so much in my life and in my marriage. So it's like, things are happening, I just go to him, Lord, you gave me this wife. Now, I'm going to need you to fix some things. And I just give you guys a quick example. When we were married and we were living in Riverdale, I could not stand this apartment. I had moved in with her. I could not stand this apartment. And every time I asked her about moving, it just seemed like she never wanted to leave. It's like I said, you just want to stay here forever. We would buy furniture. It would make me feel good, you know, do stuff together, make it feel like more of my home. I was like, I'm never going to like this place because I didn't pick it. And I don't think she could understand that. But I remember I just kept saying, you just want to stay here forever. And then something clicked and God said, did you talk to me about it? So I just started talking to God about it. And he told me, start packing. So I just started packing. I told her, I said, hey, we're going to just pack up some stuff. God told me start packing. So when it's time to move, we already going to be ready. So we started we had a duplex. So everything that was under the stairs, we packed it all up. Then we started going through closets, packed it all up. But there was a point where it was like, all right, we ain't moved yet. But then stuff started happening. Like somebody put a big scratch on my new car. She was like, man, there's too many kids around here. And I ain't saying nothing. I was just like, I see you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I was like, it's coming on around. And somebody had actually hit her car and damaged it. And there's cameras all around the apartment complex. We saw the van that did it. Nobody could do anything about it. And she was so upset. And she said, I'm ready to move. I said, thank you, Lord. It's time. It's time. So I just learned to just listen to God. Even if it just seems like it's crazy or it doesn't make sense at the time, just to listen. Because when he told me to pack, I just started packing. And then we were up out of there.
So needless to say, we bought a house. And we were, I'm sorry, it's Sparkle. It is funny because things did happen that way, and I'm just saying it's like, sheesh. But it was even to the point we bought our house. We thought we were going to take the full 30 days, right, and slowly move out. We had this strategy. We were sitting in the apartment, and we just turned. She's just like, why is we even still in here? Had keys and everything. It just thought, we moving this weekend kind of thing. But I thank God for that. But and again, just agree with all of what my husband has mentioned. And additionally, I believe our marriage is ensured, one, because we take time for each other. We're fortunate enough to have alternating weekends without kids. So don't ask us about no kids when you don't see the kids. Everyone don't have that luxury. So we take that time to spend primarily with each other. It's times where we have to divide and conquer. We have we scheduled a date night every Tuesday night. And you know, sometimes, and my husband sticks to it. I could be like tired, drained, or what have you. He's like, nope, get dressed. We going out. So Tuesday nights is our schedule date night. If that doesn't work, then we'll make the shift. Every Sunday evening, we have financial meetings because we do have kids. So, and they're, one is in private school, one is in college. Our other son is older, out living on his own and working, but still, you know, finding his footing. He's only 22, and our youngest baby girl. So whatever finances to do with the house, with the kids, things to that degree. And also, I would just say, my husband he comes up with the plans, but I'm the execution. I'll blow that thing up with a full-on, build it out kind of thing. So he comes up with it. He is good about that. He is good about the finances. And again, I execute on those things. So that's how our dynamic, you know, kind of work. And it just works, right, for us. So that's how I believe, in addition to what my husband has said, our marriage is ensured.
This is Kim. That's awesome. Jason and Sparkle, that's awesome. I believe our marriage is ensured by a covenant by God. And we are living that three-strand cord, that unbreakable three-strand cord. I think I'm saying it right, but, you know, it's the Father, then myself. If we don't have God, it's nothing, for real, nothing. And we're actually at the point that you are, Jason and Sparkle, of me saying, I'm ready to move. I'm ready to move. It's time to move. And I'm just like, God, give Van the same vision you gave me. And just like 2 Sundays ago, he's the media team for our church. And actually, Pastor Juan is our pastor. But when he ministers, it's not, he listens, but he can't really listen, if you get what I'm saying. He's on the mobile camera, so he got to capture the moments. But that particular day, I was just like, Lord, I'm so ready to go. Like, he's been robbed twice. I've been robbed once. We're just so ready to move. Like, give him the vision that you gave me. Make it plain for him. And in that scripture, our pastor said, it's time to reap what you sow. Go stand on the grounds that will be yours. Go walk in that property that will be yours. Just go do it. It's yours anyway. Just go stand on it. Touch and agree on it. And I'm children's church, youth minister, yes, sorry. And I didn't hear it, but he told me. So I was like, well, let's just go stand on it. Let's go stand down the street from the church. They're building brand new houses. Let's go stand on it. And so we didn't know it was an open house that day. So we stood in our property at 49th Street. 49th Street. Already touched and agreed, already prayed over it. God showed us visions of how we're going to decorate it, what we're going to use it for. Oh, well, they don't know the whole address. But he just showed us everything in that walkthrough. Every single thing. And I was just like, I hear you,
Lord. This is Van. I'm in total agreement with Jason because that's all I do now is I literally sit back and listen to God. And it's to a point where I believe that, like, with her saying I got robbed, yeah, they stole my car. But the funny thing about it, I wasn't even mad when it happened. She was more mad than me. I just looked at it as God removing things that I don't need at that time. And he's putting in me right now what I need to make my wife and to make our family a better situation. Because if she knows all I do is I go to God for everything. And it's been to a point I've literally have been in a sit-still season. Like, I literally have just been sitting still and just listening to him pour into me, and just like I was just telling Dara, I just formed my business. I've been talking about doing that I've been wanting to do it for the longest time, but what God said, it's not your time. So I had to sit back and be patient. And when he spoke to me and said, it's your time, I had to move. So it's just to a point to know that listening to God will literally is it for me. It's going to help continue having me and my wife be where we are, and just our love for each other, our honesty with each other, communication, trust, all those things as far as insurance. And like I tell her all the time, she's one of my biggest motivations when it comes to business. And like you said, Sparkle, like you're the executor. I say one thing to her, okay, let's go, we gone. And she's going with it. So I watch her sit back and do the things that she do and being creative with her businesses, and just watch her just put things together. And it's amazing to see what God puts in her mind, and it's rubbing off on me. So she's pouring into me, and she don't even really know it. But yeah, I do believe that just all you need is God is all the insurance you need. Like He going to make sure that when you meet that special someone or that your other half, He's going to make it whole.
Yes, you better. Wait a second. You better. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I do have to go around. But this question was for Dara real fast. When you was like, you make yourself happy or whatever. Would you enter into a marriage with the disconnect? Just because you make yourself happy. Like, would you still marry a person?
This is Jar. Wonderful question, Kim. So the reason why I love that question is because I do feel like there are some things that you're just purposed to do, right? Like, if I felt disconnected from somebody and we were still producing fruit, though, it would be me, like flesh and spirit. I'd be fighting, right? Because at the end of the day, I feel like if I don't see that there is a connection right now, then what am I supposed to do, later, right? And then I don't want to be a bad steward of the situation, right? Like, just because, we're producing fruit or whatever the case might be, but I don't feel connected. Do I feel like at some point it will happen? I don't know. Like, that's the part that I'll be, fighting with. But with that being said, I think as I understand it today, and this is just me being completely transparent, no, I would not continue on with the situation or marry somebody who I didn't feel connected to, even if we are, producing fruit. Because in my heart of hearts, I do feel like that's not me being intelligent about the situation, and or it's kind of hard for me to explain, but it's kind of like if I'm saying that now, I can trust in God to bring about something better. But what if He's just telling me, like, this is what I have for you, like this, you can produce things and not just, be married for the sake of marriage, right? And so that's kind of like, I guess where I am with that. But I did want to bring it back to you guys. Didn't you, and I remember you telling me this while we was in the shit, didn't you purchase or didn't you put furniture for your place in your, okay. I just want to point that out because I feel like the obedience is there, right? I love that the obedience is there for the couples. It's like, even if you can't see it, you're still go ahead and like, because you've gotten the word, you've gotten the message. And I guess it connects to what you just asked me. If you have the message, if you have the word, like if God has told you, like Jason said, God told him, start packing. Yeah. I've had a guy speak to me. He speaks to me all the time. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like even before I became a Christian, because I was raised Muslim, I felt like, I told AJ, I felt like God always kind of like spoke to me. Like, you know, understanding that things were beyond me. If it's supposed to be, like, I know y'all, I don't know if you guys are familiar. I know you are, Diamond. Inshallah, right? Like, it's, you say inshallah because it's like, if it happens, or God willing, right? But you don't place any emphasis like on it has to happen for me. It's like, whatever God has for this situation, I'm gonna be good with. And that's kind of how I've lived my life, right? I think that the reason why I have such a, you know, a easygoing sort of like relationship with God is because I always feel like he has my back because of that, right? Like you were talking to me before. When he says go, I'm gonna go. And so that's the reason why I don't have those, like, you know, situations where it's like, you know, where I'm trying to figure it out, because he will just speak to me plainly, like, girl, go, you know, so.
I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. You know, I ain't want to be the sixth person to be like, God assures my relationship, but Jason started it out. And I'm going to say this before I say anything. I'm so thankful for all three of you couples. Like, I'm almost 100% sure each and every one of y'all was supposed to be here tonight. Y'all don't even see what's ahead, but y'all already been hitting on it. Dara said something about our relationship, saying we have that love that, you know, I'm going to love you just because you're supposed to be loved. Like, I'm supposed to, like, you deserve it. Just as being human, you deserve that love. It might have been true for her. It wasn't true for me. So I can honestly say, Dara taught me that love. Like, the reason I love Dara was because I don't even know. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Like, Dara is a different type of woman. Like, people, period, don't show that kind of love. Y'all funny. People, period, don't show that kind of love just to anybody. Like, treat everybody with that. So I actually learned that from her. The women I dealt with in my life definitely wasn't like that. They liked me because of, you know, surface level things and everything. And obviously those relationships didn't work out. It wasn't supposed to be. But I don't know. Like, I can honestly say God assures my relationships. I love Dara the way she said now because she told me that. So the unconditional love exists and everything. But I don't know what happened at that time. You talking about 2015, 2014? I know this is 2009, but we really started getting tight in like 2014, 2015. And I just loved her because I couldn't not love her. I don't even know what that was. So that's that. Before I go to the next slide, I know you had your hand up, so I'm gonna pass to you. Get it back to you. We ain't going out of order. We going around. Unless y'all had something else.
This is a go back. What's your name again, bro? Van? Yeah, because I was just piggybacking off of Van and just talking about how good it is just to wait on God. Because, yeah, this is Jason. I'm sorry. This is not Van. This is Jason. I'm piggybacking off of Van's comment a few comments ago, and we were just talking about waiting on God because I actually had to wait on God for my marriage. And I just wanted to point out, even though you might be trying to do something that's positive and good, if God says it's not time, it's not time. And I was getting so much flack, so much, you know, our founding pastor of our church was my aunt, and I'm getting it almost every Sunday. Why you ain't marrying that girl? Why you ain't married that? And I used to tell her, it's on God's time. She said, boy, don't be trying to use God. And I told her, I said, every time I try on my own, something happens. Things like me losing jobs, or I was saving for a ring and had to spend the money, something drastically happened. And I just remember just being at a point where I was just like, Lord, I don't want to keep living like this. I want to line up with your word, make it right. And he made it right. It's like, just God is just so good. And it's just best to just wait on the Lord, because I had to go through a point where I could have been real low, and she was beside me for me to really get my fulfillment from our relationship. Because it was times where I would say, man, you're so amazing. You do all this stuff. I know what I'm getting out of a relationship. Well, what are you getting? I can't even remember what she would tell me. It just always seemed she was lying. Some kind of fluff. And she could have been telling the truth, but I didn't get the fulfillment from it. So, God just was shaping and molding us. We had to go through some things, and then the light switch went off. Said, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is how I'm fulfilled. And he just, when I tell you, he made a way out of no way. I don't want to take up too much time, but I proposed to this young lady while I didn't have a full-time job, bought a ring. God just put everything in place, gave me favor. I'm favor to the point where I'm shopping for a ring without a full-time job. And the guy say, we got to run your credit. You got to put down your job. I just put down the last job I had. And I'm like, Lord, I'm trying to line up, Lord. What's about to happen? And the guy go and he come back. He say, Mr. Rogers, you can get anything in the store you want. Wow. So I said, all right, we ain't going to go that big. But give me that one. And give me that there. Let's put that together. And just waiting on the Lord, too. And then, I don't want to get too far into it, but I just wanted to say, even when you're trying to do something positive or something that you feel is right, if God says it's not time, just wait on the Lord, and He knows the desires of your heart, and He will grant those things to you.
All right, cool.
No. I was supposed to.
Hold up now. We can hold it. All right. Next question. I want you to write this down, because I'm gonna explain something coming up about the first question. The next question is, what fruit do you want your relationship to produce? So it's two different questions. The first one was, what does it produce? The second one is, what do you want it to produce? All right, don't feel bad. Don't feel forced. If you don't have an answer for it, you don't have an answer for it. So, Diamond, first up. What do you want your relationship to produce? All right, Will.
Jalen, what fruits do I want my relationship to produce? At this point in my life, I would say most importantly, legacy. We just had our first child September of last year, so we're new to being parents. And of course, we're at this point right now, but the future is the only thing ahead of us, so who's to tell how many more kids we have. And then just thinking like time moves so fast. I'm going to be a grandparent one day, God willing. But just thinking about that, I can sit back one day and just know that we started something. We started a family of our own and could potentially have a family as big as her family. She has a couple siblings, but they have many kids. So her parents really got to enjoy 2 generations of love, of laughter, and just setting the tone of just how things should be and just the importance of creating that legacy. So right now, that's really what I emphasize on our relationship producing.
I also wrote legacy. I wrote, yes, that was the very first thing I wrote, legacy. Okay, I did. Yeah, I did. So, legacy and maturation is what I put. I want our relationship just to mature. Like, we're always growing, and we've been together so long, but yet we're so young. So I want our love to mature in such a graceful way that we don't look back and feel like, oh man, I wish you were how you used to be, or I wish it was how. No, we are here. This is the now. You have grown, you've matured, and I want to love him constantly as he matures and as our legacy and our family goes forward, and putting things into place for our family to leave a legacy and something not just beyond not just our children, but for our children's children. And those are the types of things that we're working on now, is just making sure that we set the groundwork for the future generations of our family.
And that was Diamond. This is Jason, not Jalen. Sparkle's husband. All right, well, first, I know that we were taught and trained in our premarital counseling by our founding pastor, short counseling sessions, because she sent us to somewhere else because she's my aunt and she didn't want to seem biased. But I remember her asking us why we wanted to get married. And of course, we always say, oh, because we love each other. And she just went into explaining to us, you know, sometimes you guys might not love each other as much and that your marriage is a ministry. So what I would like our relationship, our marriage, the fruits I would like it to produce is more healthy marriages and relationships. Like I said earlier, just trying to put out an atmosphere by the way we conduct ourselves with each other. Try to be not like we have like we're perfect, because we're not, but just healthy. We love on each other. We're focused on each other. And then also God has just been dealing with me with just all my relationships, especially like with my kids. Make sure your relationships with your kids are healthy. I can't always just be super stern. They got to, you know, just trying to focus more on that. So I'm hoping that those are the fruits that our marriage and our relationship produces.
This is Sparkle. I think my response would be that it's important to remember that we shouldn't get complacent or just be stagnant in our relationship. So though I didn't specify, I love the legacy I did from Diamond and Jalen. But I just jotted down, you know, just continuing to enhance and grow on the things I mentioned before, because it's continued work. It's ongoing. You can't just stop and think you don't have to do the work and think you don't have to do anything else. You get married and all right, that's it. We're married. We're good. No, you got to continue to work at that. You got to continue to encourage and motivate and build and bring each other up. So that would be my response to that question.
This is Kim. I said baby, bigger family. We do not have any children yet. We were diagnosed with something, but it's not there. God, but God, right? I said legacy because we are doing the steps right now to build that legacy. But then I also said kingdom building. We still need to call God's people. There's still work to be done, so I want our marriage to produce that. So I want us to be those vessels that God can trust to say, hey, God is real. He's coming. He loves us. You're forgiven. No sin is greater than another. We fall short of the glory every day. So just more kingdom building. Yeah.
This is Van. So I really didn't write anything down because I feel as though the things I wrote down before is the things that I want us to continue to do, because I believe everything that my wife Kim just said. If we keep doing those things, we're going to be that power couple. We're going to be that couple that everyone looks up to and wants to be like, or wants to just to be around, because we bring so much light to everyone's life. Just for me, just like this growth, like just continue to grow and continue to love each other and continue to on the path that we are on.
This is Dara. A magical group here, a magical group, because I feel like that's what we're purposed to do, right? We talked about produce. In the produce section, there are the fruit, right? The vegetables, all of them have seeds. Seeds are supposed to bring more fruit. Here we are. But the legacy part is what I'm saying. for real. Like, that's all I want. I want to build communities. Like, in all of my power and all of my might, what I want to do is leave something for somebody else. And I can't say it's for my own children. I can't say who it's for, right? But I think as long as I give it all away, right, then I've done what I'm supposed to do. So if I'm in any relationship, right, whether it AJ, whether it be in Diamond, whatever, I would like to be able to influence, to be able to build up, to be able to help grow communities. So.
Likewise. I told you, I really feel when people get divorced. Like, what I want to produce, even just from this, I would love to be able to say none of our married couples divorced. All of them continued on, whether they kept coming or what. They all continued on and flourished in their marriage, and their marriage produced. I would love to say, because we will have single events coming up sooner or later, I don't know, God's timing. I would love to say that the singles that came end up getting married, not to each other, but whoever, but they was able, I mean, even if it works out like that, so be it. More glory to God. But the singles that came, they were able to produce and get in producing relationships and flourish. I would love to be able to say that. Here we go. Wasn't my plan to go this way, but this is the way it went. The fig tree, right? All right. Y'all know about the fig tree? I'm going to read this. This is why I said this. I might have to do a little bit of rapping. I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to break it down so it can make some sense, right? This is a scripture from my favorite book. It's an excerpt. It says, "The next day, as they were leaving Bethany, Jesus was hungry. Seeing in the distance a fig tree and leaf, he went to find out if it had any fruit. When he reached it, he found nothing but leaves, because it was not the season for figs. Then he said to the tree, 'May no one ever eat fruit from you again.' And his disciples heard him say it. On reaching Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple courts and began driving out those who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves, and would not allow anyone to carry merchandise through the temple courts. And as he taught them, he said, 'Is it not written, my house will be called a house of prayer for all nations? But you have made it a den of robbers.' The chief priests and the teachers of the law heard this and began looking for a way to kill him, for they feared him, because the whole crowd was amazed at his teaching. When evening came, Jesus and his disciples went out of the city. In the morning, as they went along, they saw the fig tree withered from the roots. Peter remembered and said to Jesus, 'Rabbi, look, the fig tree you cursed has withered.'" Mark 11:12-21. Now, the reason I have this up there, right, and we're talking about producing, if you go back, this fig tree, it said it wasn't even in season for it to produce, right? So it's not supposed to have any fruit on it. So why did he curse it? That's the big question, right? This wasn't about the fig tree. He was showing something to his disciples, and we talking about relationship, right? We talking about fruit. When we listen to Warren talk, he said relationships are supposed to produce. So everything has a purpose. Plants produce because their purpose is to feed us. Relationships produce because their purpose is for something greater than the relationship itself. Now, what happened here, and you're wondering why they had this temple story in the middle between him seeing the tree and then the tree withering away. What was the purpose of that? The purpose of that was because he was showing them. The temple, if you know anything about the scriptures, the temple ended up being destroyed because they distorted the purpose of the temple. So now it is an entropy kicked in. It is no longer fruitful in what it was supposed to do, and so the temple ended up being destroyed when Christ died. But that fig tree, so I'll break down how fig trees work. Fig trees usually bloom fruit gets ripened and everything like in late summer, fall. So around this time was like early spring. So they produce these little things called like Breba figs that they're not the figs that you eat, but homeless people, like people that didn't have, they would eat them when they would come up. They would try to, and it says, they walking, Jesus ain't have a place to lay his head. So he said this thing, he didn't find the fruit. What he was talking about was that Breba fruit. Now this it's not the same fig that ripens, that turns purple. It's like a little green junk. But at this time, if that tree doesn't produce that, then that means that tree is not fruitful. And so he knows that this tree will not produce fig even later on down the. And so what he is saying is, well, what I'm saying right now is, in your relationship, right? In your relationship, you might not see the fruit of it now, but if you're not producing that Breba fruit, and this is probably why God asked me, what ensures your relationship? And you said something that was powerful where you was like the effort, that intentionality. If you're not doing that now, we spoke about earlier about people been married for 50 plus years just for the family and everything, right? That's image. You're doing that. That's like a shallow reason to do it. That's just image. There's the purpose of that thing, the fruitfulness of that thing is almost non-existent at this point. You're just living, right? And what Entropy says, if you're not working on it, if no outside force comes and puts something to it, it's going to die. And that's exactly what happened in those relationships. And what he's saying is, if you're not producing something outside of season, in season when the fruit's supposed to come, it's not going to happen either. And he had to destroy. This is the end of this right here. Now that fig tree is just like a foreshadow of it. The fig tree died in that instant. It'd be more terrible for you to be living out 50 plus years of your life dying. Because if you ain't growing, if you ain't living, if you ain't producing, you're essentially dying. You're not good for yourself, and you're not good for anybody else around you. Now, this is a young lady. I can't remember. I don't know if this was the last one or the one before, but it was just so powerful in what she said. And I want to point out a couple of things, and then I got another question for y'all.
This is Kelsey. Okay. I would say I am committed, but there's one thing that I do think about a lot is that, God has a plan for us, and, I forgot to mention this too. I don't know. It's important though from the last one, but Nick brought me closer to God. Yeah. So he brought me to church with him, and I've been going since with him for like a year now, I think. But one thing I always think about though is God has certain plans for us, and we think that those plans are going to work out the way we want them to work out. So I can say I'm committed to Nick, but if that's not what he wants, then I have to kind of accept that. Because there's times when I pray for him, because there are things that me and him both lack in. I might get frustrated at him because he doesn't do this, even though I do it, but he doesn't. But I also have to give him grace because we didn't grow up the same way. And then the whole thing with God, sometimes I have to just pray to him to make Nick the man that I need him to be, even if that's not with me. Because I might be here to help him grow the way he needs to for somebody else, and I don't know that. So I guess I don't like it, but it's not my choice at the end of the day. God is gonna do what he has plans. But am I committed until God, I guess, tells me or shows me otherwise? Yes.
That was.
No.
What happened?
He asked if they were married.
No, but this is the powerful thing about it. And I do in my heart believe they'll end up married, because Kelsey doesn't realize what she's doing. And this is what a lot of people feel. And I told my ex this, and she did it. And I know that's a great reason why that relationship wasn't supposed to be anyway. But I think she made our relationship an idol. And I told her in the beginning, I said, don't make me an idol. Because I promise you, if you do that, I'm going to have to cut this off, right? In the long run, she ended up doing that, and she ended up admitting it afterwards. But what Kelsey has done, and she doesn't even realize, is she put God above Nick and said, regardless, I'm not going to make you an idol in this relationship. And she accepted that even if I'm just here to help you become a better man, then I'm fine with that. And that's like her releasing Nick to God, like you're gonna take care of this situation. But in regards to being fruitful, right? Because she is, her being able to accept that is allowing her, and saying that even if I'm just here to help him grow, it's allowing her to let God use her to be what she needs to produce something for her partner. And she's there, of course, they're praying for themselves and everything. But this is the next question, because the system that we're going to have here, I was just going to wait till it shows out, but this is the system God showed me, right? First question is going to be, what fruit do you produce for yourself? And it may be a little abstract, like you said the other question is, but let me help you out with this. I'll give an example for myself. Because you can't produce for somebody else if you can't produce for yourself. Just as you just said, each plant, each living organism has a seed in itself. If it doesn't produce that seed, you can't take a seedless grape and grow another grape. You can grow a seedless grape from the ground, but you ain't growing another grape from that seedless grape. You get it right. So you got to produce something in yourself first. And so when I say I put myself out there, I had to be real with myself and realize, AJ, you start a lot of things and you don't finish for yourself. Like you have a consistency problem in yourself, and that is not going to be healthy for anybody else that you join yourself with, a wife, friends, business, any other type of relationship. That's not going to be healthy. Starting and not following things through, not seeing things through. So I had to work in myself. I had to produce a consistency in myself. I had to produce that fruit of following through all the way to the end for myself. Because I have a saying that says, you don't stop when you're tired, you stop when you finish. And for some reason, when I'm at work, physical labor, oh, that thing kicks in. I'm locked in, zoomed in. And when it becomes a task, I'm zoomed in. That's that. But when it becomes something that you got to be committed to, I could easily just fall off. So that's one thing amongst many that I had to produce in myself. I had to produce a fruit of consistency. So I'm asking y'all first, what fruit do you produce for yourself?
What happened to the do-do-do?
Oh, you need some time to think? It could go around.
This is Jalen. What fruit do I produce for myself? First and foremost, accountability. Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding for everything that I go through, just in that order as well. Execution for what I do, learn and begin to understand. And as well with that, being self-aware in the same notion, learning about myself daily, taking the time to analyze, me as a person, what I want to do better at, what I'm good at but I could be better at, or what I'm not so good at and could improve in. And most importantly, to touch on what you said, consistency. Because none of this matters that I just said without me practicing that every single day. And the only way that I'm going to do it is hold myself accountable to doing it. Because won't no one really reap that benefit but myself unless I put that work in.
Diamond. I wrote grace and love. I produce that fruit for myself to give myself grace. Sometimes I put a lot of pressure on myself mentally, and then I have to step back and allow myself, like, hey, you can take your time. Nobody has this time frame in their head but you. Nobody's expecting for it to be done at this specific time but you. So sometimes allowing myself grace, and it allows me to then pour into him the grace, and then to others as well. Also, love. When I show myself love, and when I love on myself hard, it allows me to love on him hard, our child, our family, our community. But most importantly, what stands out is the fact that my grace and my love allows me to pour into our communities. And I think that is the fruit that I produce.
Jason, I said the fruit that I produce is laughter and self-control. But I wanted to comment on when you said something about following through, because I have an issue with that as well. But God saw fit to give me a partner that can carry out a lot of the plans that I come up with. But as I grow in my walk, I notice, God will tell me clear as day. Yeah, your wife she does all this amazing things. She can carry out all these plans. She can do this, but, every now and then he said, no, I told you to do it. So just listening to his voice, and he's like, I already know she can do that. He's like, no, you don't give that to her. You handle that, and you take care of that and see it all the way through. So I'm trying to get better at, following through. And then just like when she mentioned, like we had a financial talks every Sunday, and we sit down and we go over the plan for our household. God gave me that plan. And like when things are going off, he just reminds me, he was like, are you sticking to the plan? He said, you came up, he said, we came up with this great plan. It'll work if you stick to it. So he just reminds me, stick to the plan that I gave you. And but those were mine. Laughter, self-control, and I just wanted to mention something about following through.
This is Sparkle. The fruits I produce for myself is self-care, love, pampering. Like I take mental health days at work, and I'll be at the nail salon, or I'll go to sleep. I'll be in the bed just watching, and I don't tell my husband. He'd be like, you ain't go to work today? No. Because I don't want nobody trying to plan my day. But I am hard and firm on that. If we can't be no good to anyone else if we're not good to ourselves. Talking to people can be so draining, and or just listening, not even talking, even listening to people sometimes can be draining. But Dar commented early about you have to have an outlet, right? You have to find a way not to harbor those things, hold on to those things, and just dump them out. I'll share that at the start of Lent this year, God sent me on a journey of journaling. What that consists of is waking up every morning, open up my Bible app. I start with the daily devotional in the scripture. Parallel to that, because I work at a Jesuit Catholic school, I also do an examen. So that's 3 different things. Sometimes immediately after that in the morning, I journal. So that helps me to focus and start my day. Or it could be what I read might prompt me to wait till later because I need to see how that works out throughout the day. But my husband could tell you, and I was like, well, today's journaling was interesting because X, Y, and Z. So that to me is God's way of investing in me and making sure I take care of myself spiritually, continuing to grow in that manner. So that to me is like my me time because it's no one around me. I just have that time to myself to center how I choose my day is about to go. I choose not to have the activities or things around me to dictate how my day is going to go.
This is Kim. I need to do what Sparkle does. Choose how my day gonna go. I need to do that. But what I produce for myself is love, drive, encouragement, faith, humbleness, loyalty, being a wife. Like, it's no book on being a wife. It's no book on submitting. There's no book on just being a wife. I produce being teachable. I produce grace. My willingness. I am willing to help everyone. Everyone. Speaking of that, as we said earlier, my husband's car was stolen. And so we're down to 1 vehicle, and I pick him up on Tuesdays and Wednesdays from work. And I had my little niece, she's 16, but my niece in the car. and we was driving past a car with a guy trying to do whatever he was trying to do on it. And we looked at it and we kept going. And then picked up Van and we had to go back that same way and the car was still there. And Van was like, man, that's tough. And I was like, yeah, you want to go help him? And he was like, I mean, I can. I said, okay, let's go. Let's go do it. And I say willingness because God told me to be willing to help him before I even said it to Van. So it was just like the cue was from Van to, oh, that's tough. I would. Like, so I was just like, okay, let's go do it. And God revealed so much in that situation. And it was teachable for my 16-year-old niece. The situation ended up being worse than we expected, but still God got us out of it. And it was teachable for all of us too. So I say teachable. My goofiness, I am so goofy. It's never a dull moment in our house, Lord. And I produce to myself patience. I am a teacher. So my God, patience is my best friend. Okay.
This is Van. The things I produce for myself is this. Sometimes I kind of lock focus on certain things, so I gotta keep myself pushing forward. I notice there are certain things that I will jump up at the drop of a dime to do, but the things I need to do, I'll literally just slow foot. And of course, I hear it from my wife all the time. I do. But you're not nagging. You're just dedicated. But for me, just like Sparkle said, it's more self-care. Like for me, I'm in my element when I'm in the gym. Every time I go to the gym, that's where I do my most thinking. A lot of people do it on the bathroom, but mine is when I get in the gym, I do my most thinking. I even do videos where I talk about certain things when I leave the gym because certain things that hit my mind. So that's when I'm truly in my element and just self-motivation, remaining disciplined, remaining focused. Those are things that I'm trying to produce to myself. I am starting to produce to myself. And like another thing that Sparkle said, I'm on the journey as well. I started reading the Bible and it amazes me that I'm like, I've never in my life read any scripture or anything in the Bible, but for me to actually get into it now, and you guys, and for Kim to see how my face looks when I talk about stories, I'm like, this really happened, and it's like the things that I'm reading now, it's kind of like what life is happening now, how life is now. So it's just making me even more in tune with what's going on, and more in tune with God, to let me know that what we went through is what you're going through right now. It's nothing that's new under the sun. So just know that what you're going through, somebody else went through before you did it. So just know that your path is your path for a reason. So just continuing to stay true to that journey, stay true to myself, and just continue to be motivated and keep pushing and going forward.
This is Dara. Super cliche, but I would say there are two things as far as fruit that I produce for myself. One, my relationship with God. Two, the way that my relationship with God affects the way I see myself. Because I see myself as a creation, right? It puts things into perspective. So my goal in any relationship is to produce communities, right? To be able to be fruitful in all of those relationships. I have to be able to connect to people. I realize division is literally the devil's work, right? He wants us to be divided. That divide and conquer thing is a real thing, right? If you get isolated, you get scared, you become fearful. If I connect with you, though, there's power in numbers. That's why when we gather together in prayer, you feel it. You feel the power of it So and we connect Sparkle because that's literally my morning, right? Like not what you call it, examine. See, so my devotions, I have to start my morning that way, right? I don't even be wanting to do it sometimes, but I realize I'm taking part in that relationship with God. And so, because I don't be feeling like it, I put in perspective that there are people in my life who don't feel like it with me, right? That's what I mean by understanding myself based off of my relationship with God, because I realize, like, I really be pouting sometimes, like, reading the Bible, but I'm reading it, though, because I know that my responsibility as a creation is to get to know who has created me, right? So when I talk to Van, or when I talk to Kim, or when I talk to Sparkle, I think about there's something that could be going on with you. It don't have nothing to do with me. You may have a different outlook on life. You may say something that I don't agree with. I don't have to be moved by that. It doesn't have to divide us. I can still be connected to you. I can still love you through whatever it is. Your standpoint, it has no effect on my standpoint. That's it. So those are the things, that helps me those are the things that I produce for myself so that I can produce fruit in my relationships.
All right. Before I ask this question, I guess I'll put myself out there. I just thought about this. This just came to me when Van was speaking, that I have to work on what I lack. And I just realized this today because somebody challenged me. And they said, man, continue to encourage him. Like, just continue to encourage him, man, regardless of what he thinks about himself. And my response to him was, because if you know me, I'm more of a convictionist than I am an encourager. Like, I'm going to challenge you, and I guess that's my way of encouraging. I'm going to challenge you and just have you man up. Like, dude, this we here now. Let's get through this. And my response to him was, I said, man, I don't know how to encourage somebody that don't want it. I said, I already have enough struggles trying to encourage myself. Like, I don't encourage myself. If I find myself in a situation, I just fight it out because I just refuse to lose. But I don't, I can't be like, all right, AJ, you can get through this. All right, this going to work out. It's like, nah, nigga, you got it. You got to get through it. Like, just head down, go through it. And now I know, because I'm going to tell you why I'm saying this after this question, but I had to be able, that's a fruit that I need to be able to produce in myself, because when I run into somebody else that needs encouragement, because not everybody could take how I deliver. Some people need to be able to, you got to be able to deliver with grace for them to be able to receive it and to really be able to hear from you. Like, everybody can't receive from a convictionist. They like, dang, man, why you just so hard with everything you saying? Yeah. And so I got to be able to encourage myself. Like, that's what I was saying. If you can't produce in yourself, how could you produce for somebody else? So this question is, what do you produce for your partner?
I have a quick question. So, going back to the scripture, what was the overall gist of that you got from what the scripture said?
So the thing is, you don't ever, it's what your husband said, you don't ever want to not be producing, even if it may seem like it's not harvest season. You still want to be working towards something. That Breba bulb, that Breba fig, it wasn't there because it was an unfruitful tree. And so that unfruitful tree had to die. It had no purpose.
But in that situation, I felt that Jesus was wrong. The tree was not unfruitful. It just didn't have, like you said, it wasn't in season. But also the sign of life were the leaves. The leaves were a sign that this season can come, it will come. So for you to curse it and then make it seem as though, oh, the tree has no bearing and it's not producing what you want, but there's still life there. So for you to curse it and then to bring all of this negativity forth for it to rot was a poor judgment for someone to do to something that's still growing.
So it wasn't growing. That's what he was showing them. That's why when he went to the temple and he said, what did he say? This temple was supposed to be a house of prayer for all nations. It was supposed to produce something for everybody. And what he was showing you, like, this thing is not producing. Because if it doesn't produce those Reba bulbs, it was still alive, but it's not producing, like those relationships. So those bulbs tell you whether it's going to produce or not. Because so it's like an infertile man. It's like a man that can't have kids. That's say it like that. You know how plants yeah. And so that's what he was showing him, like, this thing will never. And so it will never produce. It's done. Even though it's alive. Yeah.
That's not how trees work, though.
This is Jason. Yeah, this is Jason. First of all, that is how trees work, because Jesus could never be wrong. I'm gonna say that first. Yeah. He is the the word of God. But I have a tree in my yard right now. It's so strange because it's dying. It blooms twice a year. It blooms in the spring, and then it withers away, and it blooms again in the summer. And I can see the tree each year is dying a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. But I basically just got the mic to tell you that Jesus is always right. But it's not producing the way it's supposed to produce. It's dying. When I'm talking about the tree that's in my
In the season, does that mean that it's not fruitful? Does it just because it's not the season for it, does that mean that it is okay to kill it?
So, but it was the season for what's the little fruit? For the Reba bulbs, and those weren't there. So he already
They
knew.
weren't there yet, or you could have waited till the next season for them to come, or what have you. But I feel like you said, your trees are in your yard. And
So you can have a tree that, say you plant a lemon tree, and it gives you lemons. And then one day it can just stop giving you lemons.
Right.
The tree is no longer a lemon tree. It's still a lemon tree. It's still alive, but it's not going to produce any more fruit. So with him knowing that, he's just like, okay, you're done.
What he did was, it wasn't about the fig tree. He was telling his disciples, it's just like relationship. He was telling his disciples, you should always be producing. Yeah, like that's why he said this is supposed to be a house of prayer for all nations, and y'all distorted it. You destroyed it. Like it's not even useful anymore. And so that's why I had to come to an end. There had to be a new temple. And then all the fig tree was just a sped up understanding for them. It was like what you call a parable, but not a parable. It was like a legit visualization for them. But I do want to get back to this question. What fruit do you produce for your partner?
Hopefully not a bulb. This is Diamond. Right, a real fig. The fruit that I produce for my partner is also, like I said, that grace, love, patience with him, and understanding and knowledge, and being able to expound on conversation, talk to him, basically never allowing disagreement or anything to cloud my judgment of my purpose with him or my love for him. Even if we get into a disagreement, what would you like for dinner? How can I help you? What is it that you need here? Still being of service to my husband and with him, even in moments of disagreement. And that's something that I continue to produce for my partner, to prove, well, not even just prove, but to show that my love is unconditional with him.
This is Jalen. What fruit do I produce for my partner? I would say, to second what you said, Diamond, love and patience. Those are very key. Motivation, innovation, and lastly, I would say perspective. Because through conversation, through experience in life with one another, you have someone that you can trade ideas and perspectives with. So with you going into a relationship or a conversation with maybe a one-track mind, or you've always seen things one way, having those conversations or just simple dialogue can enhance or broaden both of our perspective. So with us having so many like intellectual conversations or just conversations that benefit both of us, whether it's informational or just in general, I feel like that it broadens our perspectives, which makes us think in a different light, not in a different light, but I'll just say broadens our perspective, and that way just not keep us so one-track minded if we were before.
This is Jason. I want to copy everything he just said. I think the fruits that I produce for my partner, my wife, is protection, mentally, spiritually, physically, financially. And I said I produce, self-control earlier. I didn't really get into that, but that's just, just knowing yourself. Patience is wrapped up in there. Just knowing to not react in certain situations. Well, I try not to react in any situation. I try to just always think about what my action is going to be. And then communication is a big thing. And I say this all the time, especially when I'm talking to some of my friends or counseling someone or mentoring someone, just knowing when and where to have the hard conversation and how to have it. One thing, this is that God revealed to me, that assured me that Lashida was my wife, is that she was the first female. She was the first female where I actually thought about my response. Like, usually it was just, you just get what you get. And I just remember sitting down and I don't want to take up too much time, but basically she thought I was dragging her on and like I wasn't going to propose. And what was funny, this is how the enemy works. As soon as I bought the ring is when she started having these ideas. All of a sudden, I'm dragging her on. And the enemy was just playing with me. And I'm like, Lord, is this a sign I'm not supposed to marry this child? It's like, as soon as I buy the ring, now she's like, well, I don't know what the kids should be calling me. I don't know this. I don't know that. And I'm telling her, you just have to trust me. You got to trust me to be the man that you know that I am, because I didn't tell her I bought the ring. I knew when I was going to propose. I knew how I was going to do it. And I just remember she sent me the text message basically saying I was dragging her on, and I was upset. But I said, you know what? I'm going to go home. I was working late. I said, I'm going to go home, and I'm just going to go to bed. When I got home, the door was locked. The bedroom door was locked. So I said, I know this child ain't locked this door. So I went back downstairs, and I sat on the couch, and all these thoughts started going through my head. Man, I'm about to be back out in these streets. I'm about to rip and run. I was like, who nobody still got in this phone? Thinking, I was like, man, I'm about to go. And then I just sat and I said, nah, you're not going to do that. You're going to go ahead. You're going to sleep in your own bed tonight. Now you got the little key over top of the door frame. I went in and I slept in the bed. And then, I said, we're going to have to talk about this someday. But I said, nah, let me think about how I'm going to present this to her. Because I said, I don't want to say this in a way that it will hurt her feelings in any kind of way. I was like, dang, I never did that for somebody before. And she was like the first woman that God was like, you need to thank God for her. And it made me go back and it's like, well, first let me thank God for my mother, rest in peace. And I said, well, yeah, thank you, Lord, for Lashida. And I just remember just thinking, it's going to take me a few days to kind of get this together. But I put that much thought into it. I think we came back 2 or 3 days later and had the conversation that we needed to have about moving forward and how we were going to move forward. So communication.
And I didn't lock the door. This is Sparkle. That's the other thing.
Hold on, that was the other thing. Because I said, we sat down at that table 2 or 3 days later, and I said, and girl, when I came in this house and that bedroom door was locked, she said, I didn't lock no door. I said, that's the devil. I said, that's the enemy, because I said, girl, if you know the thoughts that was going through my head on that couch, I said, that was the enemy, but it had to be the Holy Spirit convict me and say, go sleep in your bed. Go sleep in your bed tonight.
And I'm Sparkle. Yeah, you jumped in on me. What I produce, the fruits I produce for my partner, I jotted down love, growth, strength, self-awareness, and patience. Though in my house it's funny, but not. It's a certain time of the month where my house feel my wrath. I'm not the most kind person at that TMI at that particular time, but I'll tell you, that's the cleanest my house is without me doing it at those times, because they know, like they pick up, they are aware, right, of that. But the self-awareness I would expand upon. I worked at Special Olympics a while back. So this is just a visual example of self-awareness. And like my kids and my husband, they would use the word retarded a lot, right? Slowly we worked on, that, removing those negative kind of derogatory terms from our language, but coming from the environment that I was in, the things that I knew, but bringing that, I guess, that wisdom and knowledge back home and to my family. And then as he went on his journey to becoming a deacon in September now, it's the cursing. My husband did curse a lot, just casually in conversation. I don't curse, but I would say little things like, I don't know if a deacon could be cussing that much. Or a little thing be like, I thought you was going to stop saying that word. But in the moment and quietly, not outwardly like in bursts, but just making them aware that, what's happening. But he doesn't curse as much. Anymore. So I would, that's what I mean by like the self-awareness that I bring to my husband.
Sparkle, I love it. This is Kim. Before I answer the question, I want to hit on Diamond. Diamond, God took a moment to come to me, but he had to let me process it. In the fig tree situation, he made me say, think about your parents. Your parents were a fig tree producing at the time they needed to produce. But then they had to get a divorce. So the divorce died off, if you make sense. But while they were withered off. But in the producing season, they produced you. They produced their grandchildren. They produced spiritual growth. They produced health, wellness, whatever, and your siblings and all that. So in the time that the fig was a tree producing what it needed to produce, it was needed, right? So in this situation, your parents was needed in their fig situation season. Now that they don't make each other happy or produce to each other anymore, the marriage had to wither away. I hope I could.
It came from not putting in the work and not doing the work.
So
not waiting for that season. Even
right.
when I just sat back and looked up,
I knew you were doing that.
Tree, the bulb has nothing to do with it.
Mhm.
If the leaf is there, it is still alive and it can still produce fruit.
Mhm.
There are ways and there are tactics to get to regrow and to do these things and to test the soil and to test the tree and all of those things. But the bulb has nothing to do with it.
The tree probably withered away because it was no longer doing what it needed to do. As far as, yes, it's alive because of the leaf, but it was no more producing. It was no more watering it. It was no more giving it the sunlight. It was no more giving it the nutrition that it needed. It did what it needed to do in that season. So God needed it to weather away, probably to produce something different in that moment.
But could we have done anything to help?
We don't know from now, but back in the day, God.
But bringing it to present day, is it not now my responsibility if I see that it is lacking something? Is it not my responsibility to nourish it? Is it not my responsibility? I'm sorry.
Okay.
No, I feel like we're going on a tangent, but I don't want to distract.
Okay. So I'll answer my question since your question couldn't be heard, but I'll answer my question. So what I produce in my husband is everything I said I produced in myself. But the main part is help. We as wives were created to help our husband. So in any season that we are in, and I see that he is distracted, depressed, anxious, or whatever, I am there to help him get out of that season, help produce him in that season, give him whatever he needs, that nourishment, that love, that strength, the guidance, the drive, the encouragement, the love. Because as he said before, he looks at me as, what you say, maybe as his inspiration. And I do that unknowingly. But since I know that I am that, I continue to help him with that. So when we started, my husband was not going to church. He believed in Christ, but he didn't have a relationship with Christ. Huh? I nourished the tree. I nourished the tree. The leaves were not there yet, if that makes sense. It could be, he was a seed in the ground that did not blossom into a tree yet. The relationship that he saw that I had with God nourished him into that tree. I poured into him knowingly and unknowingly because of me being me. Saying we were out, just randomly out. We went to McDonald's, nothing big. We went through the drive-thru. It was a homeless guy that came to the window and was like, "Can you please help me get something to eat for me and my family?" I said, "Sure." He was like, "What? You don't know him?" I don't have to know him. I don't have to know him. This is my brother in Christ. Just roll with it. What do you want? He was like, "Whatever you get me. Whatever you get my family. Just please." We didn't see a family. We ain't know where he was at. We ain't know he was going. We ain't know what he was going to do with it. I just was obedient to what God told me to do. Him seeing me do that, he began to nourish his own seed. He got out of the car, gave the man the food, and was like, "Bless you. Do you need anything else?" On his own. We ain't even talk about it. He just saw what I did, and he followed through with it. And then from that, now my husband sees somebody in line, and he pays for their groceries. He doesn't even talk to me first. He come home, "Babe, I did a thing." Giant, we trying shop at Giant. But he does that thing. So I nourished this. I took care of the seed. I was right. I nourished the seed that was there. It was not yet a tree nor a leaf.
But you didn't curse it either.
Huh?
You didn't curse it either.
I didn't curse it because it wasn't my place to curse it.
Right.
It wasn't. Jesus can curse whatever he needs to. It's Jesus. It's Jesus. He is the creator of heaven and earth. He is Jesus. Okay, I'll pass it. AJ want me. Go ahead, man. AJ wants me to pass it. This is Cap. Okay. Come on.
This is Van. the things that I produce to my wife is continuing to love on her, continuing to have fun, continuing to date. Even if we don't have to, like to me, I look at dating, we don't even have to go anywhere. We can sit in the house, turn on a movie. Continuing to join each other's company, continue to educate each other. While I continue to educate as well. There's certain things that, like she's been in the business owner longer than me. There's things that I've learned since before even getting in the business. I'm telling her, she's like, I never knew that. Like, how did you do that? Where did you learn this at? I'm like, this is what I do when I'm in the house watching YouTube. So, but it's just us continuing to educate each other, continuing the inspiration, continue the laughter. Like I said, having fun, just keeping each other on our toes. That's what I mean. I feel as though I produce into our relationship.
This is Dara. So I think the common theme has been, we've been talking about really, really positive things that we've done to produce fruit in our partners. But you want to tell y'all something? It's not always positive. And by that I mean, sometimes I can be impossible with this guy here. Yeah, I can. I can be a headache, okay? But I still feel like it's producing fruit. And here's why I say that. Sometimes you are the villain in somebody else's story. And it's not because you literally set out to hurt that person. It's just because that's what your purpose to do. I don't know about y'all, but some of the most important lessons that I've learned, the ones I remember, the ones I'm going to tell my grandkids about, hurt me, right? It wasn't because somebody was like, oh, come on, sis, like, you're so good, you're so beautiful, da, da, da. People can tell me that I'm beautiful. But I can remember the people who challenged me, right? And I feel like that is what I wanted to highlight on what I bring to the partnership that I have with AJ. Those times when he's growing to be a man for whomever his wife is going to be, right? Whoever she is. Because he's able to speak to me, or he's able to understand that sometimes you just need to hold the space because it's not even about you. She just snapped on you. It doesn't feel good, but you know that you can get through something like that in your future. And I wanted to highlight that because I feel like it's pertinent to the story in which we, that you started with in Mark. And I'll let you bring it home. But my point was, sometimes it's not, I'm bringing success. Sometimes it's not that I'm bringing, encouragement. Sometimes it's not that I'm bringing legacy or whatever. Sometimes it's that I just pissed him off that day and he realized that he can deal with an impossible woman. He can still hold a space. He can still love somebody who is broken. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'll highlight.
So basically what she's saying is she's broken fruit for me. The tart one, the bitter, it's like, nah. I don't know why she took that road. She knows she ain't always impossible. Just, she don't be impossible. She be impossible. But, nah. But this is what I want to, because it's about always producing, being intentional in a relationship. The metaphor with the fig tree, I want to say this, and we could hit on it. It's 9:38. We could go more into it afterwards. But this is what I want to say about the fig tree. This is why I brought up entropy, right? Remember, once it stops producing on its own, it takes something from the outside to, right. And so what was happening was, this wasn't somebody's fig tree. Remember I said they was walking from city to city. This was a wild fig tree that on its own could no longer produce. And so what I'm getting to now, because of this next question, like, yeah, if he would have tended to it and said, boom, 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 this and that. That's why I said all he did was speed the process up for them to see what happens. Yeah, when you're not producing. because it wasn't about the fig tree. So like this instance right now, we're talking about the relationship. But your relationship is the fig tree. You are in the fig tree. This is what I'm saying. Your relationship is the fig tree. If you're not producing for each other, you can't produce for those that are supposed to get the fruit. So you have fruit in the relationship, is which y'all produce for each other, and you have fruit of the relationship, which y'all produce for the outside, the world, whoever else. And so I just asked y'all the question, what is it that you produce for your partner, right? I want to go a little bit deeper and say, is it the fruit that they need? And the reason I'm saying this because this is my philosophy. I'm not saying this is like absolute truth or anything. This is AJ's philosophy, right? Why I believe it's so hard for couples who get along, who get together later in life to work out, right? So y'all been together for a long time. We got this abstract starfish couple where, 2 years and they the best thing smoking. Unicorn, that's what it was, unicorn. I like starfish better. But my philosophy is, right, because you heard what I said about me working on myself. God showing me what I'm lacking, what I don't have, what I'm not producing for myself, right? I believe that, especially in this today's day, we're people that are working on themselves as they're growing, as they're getting older. You are working on yourself, and it's good. It's not a bad thing. You are working on yourself. You are working, but at this time, you're not growing with anybody. And then you meet somebody that has been working on themselves to produce fruit for themselves also, and y'all get together, and the fruit that they produce ain't really the fruit that you need. So, like, it's a reason why coconut trees don't grow in Africa where giraffes at. Because giraffes can't eat coconuts. They freaking jaws ain't strong enough and everything. Like, there's a reason why certain plants grow in certain climates where there's certain animals, because it benefits them. And that's why I say that's just my philosophy. Like, you really have to work at it. Once you're done grown older and you set your ways, you're used to producing your fruit because this is working for you. And now you think, I'm good for a relationship. Like, this is what I bring to the table. This is what the big debate be about. What do you bring to the table? This is what I bring to the table. But now the question is that what they really need? Because do I need somebody to be financially stable? Do I need somebody that's going to be... Because my man said earlier, God blessed him with a wife that follows through. Did he need that? I mean, yeah, it probably would have been good to have, but he lacked in it. And so he didn't need it at the time when he met her. All he had to do was be the one that got the engine moving in the plane. And the wife was like, look, I'm going to land this junk. I'm going to get us through all the turbulence, and we're going to land this junk, and we both going to be good. So my question now is the fruit that you produce for your partner. And I want your partner to confirm it or even say what it is that they really need. Whatever. But is it the fruit that they need? Do you know your partner enough to be like, this is where they lacked when we got together? Like, do you know them enough to say, this is where we lacked when we got together, and I helped really cultivate that thing, similar to what Kim was just saying?
Diamond, yes. Could I do more? Of course, in providing different things. However, I feel that I do produce what it is that my husband needs.
Jalen, I do have a question for everybody, just to consider when answering this. I'm not exactly sure how you would measure whether it is what they need or not, because everything that you're doing is still based off of your assumption of what they need. So therefore, for me to answer that correctly, unless you ask to actually have a conversation, correct? So based on my observation and thinking with that pretense, I'm not 100% sure of whether what it is that I stated in the previous question is what you need. Right. However, I do think, based on my assumptions, that it will be beneficial for us as a unit. For those, not to say that she lacks that or anything, but who couldn't use an extra perspective? I feel like that's the same way it's been. I mean, it's as beneficial as traveling the world, seeing different cultures, learning different religions and ways of life versus just being in one place and just having that straightforward, all I know is this around me and I ain't never seen nothing else. So something, for example, of like perspective, I do believe that that is something that she needs, and I feel everyone needs that. But as far as in general, I'm unsure.
Oh, you can ask me.
Are the examples of fruit needed? Like the.
Can I
let
see
me
your
rephrase
fruit?
it.
Can I see
Yes.
what your produce was? Love, motivation, innovation, perspective, and patience. Absolutely. All of these things, 1,000% is all of what I need. All of the patience, all the love, perspective, motivation, innovation. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
This is Jason, and the question is it the fruit that they need? The fruit that I produce, do I believe it's the fruit that my wife needs? I would say yes. I might not, I think it's just constantly learning. The fruits might change as we grow more, so just paying attention and just trying to fill whatever need there is. And then the one thing is just, like I said, one of my fruits is communication. So it's not, sometimes it's just observing her and seeing that she needs something and trying to fill that void. But I wanted to comment on when you said like people who meet later on in life and they've been producing for themselves so long, and they might get in a relationship and their fruit is not producing for the other person. I think that's being unevenly yoked. So you got to be on one accord, and sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow that person's just not for you. But I feel like the quicker you realize that and the quicker you go ahead and let that go, the better. But it doesn't, well, most of the time it doesn't happen like that. But that's my answer. So it was yes, and just communicating in case in case you need some more fruit salad later on down the line. Oh, what I produce, is that the fruit that you need, Lashita?
Insist on saying this is Sparkle. I would say yes in this season and moment. And I think you raised a good point of it's ever changing, ever evolving. My response too was yes. And to answer why, I said because God has identified to me that those are the things you need in those various moments, seasons, or situations. It's not all of those fruits at once. It may be certain fruits depending on the time and the situation. And before you answer, I just noted, we have the bad habit of wanting to love people the way that we want to love them as opposed to how they need to be loved. Where we and we should be, God's love for us has no stipulations, and that is how we should aim to love others. But we, as humans, we often get in the way. So is the fruits that I produce for you the fruits that you need?
This is Jason, and yes, and I wanted to just piggyback on that. When we talk about loving your mate the way that they want to be loved, God revealed to me that you have to do that with everyone that you love. And he revealed it to me through my kids, because we have a blended family, and I want to show all of them, I love all y'all the same. I don't want somebody to think because I didn't produce you, you're any less than another child or anything like that. And he showed me, he said, yeah, you love them all the same, but you can't love them the same way. each individual child needs you to cater to them in a certain way. And I was like, Lord, they just all together. He said, are they the same person? I was like, no. He said, okay, you have to love them the way they want to be loved, each child. So I adapted that with my children, and I just adopted it for every relationship that I have. Just loving people the way that they want to be loved.
This is Kim. I agree with everything that Jason and Sparkle said. And before we all pass the mic, I asked Van, is the fruits that I produce, I already asked him what he need. And he said, so it was a goofy moment. We're goofy. He said, yes, they're pretty tasty. So I can definitely say that, and I think the fruits that we produce to each other are needed because it reveals something that God placed in us differently, if that makes sense. Going into our courting, we took the love language test because my love language is physical touch. So he needs to touch me all the time. If he's not sleepy, he just needs to lay in the bed with me so I can hold him and go to sleep, and he can get up and do whatever he needs to do. And his love language is the same though, physical touch. But then his second is like words of affirmation. I have to let him know, babe, you're doing a good job, and then he reciprocates that. He always be like, babe, you're awesome. You are amazing. You're beautiful. I'm like, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. And so, before this might started to go around, I asked him because I know I'm a lot. Like, I'm so extra, but in a great way. And he just takes it, put it in a bottle, and let it explode. Like, baby, go ahead, be great. And I need that. And then, for instance, before we came, he was frustrated because he was working. And he works for 311. It's like an information or whatever. And he was getting calls back to back. As soon as he hang up, it was another call coming. It was another call coming. And I'm still on my unicorn, riding the rainbow, all happy. Like, we going to our little marriage joint today, and I'm about to see people. And he's like in a funk. And I'm just like, well, baby, what's wrong with you? And he was like, you didn't just hear all of what happened. And I'm still giving that sparkly me and not giving him what he needed in that moment. So I had to dial me back and realize, hey, my husband needs a moment. And so I was like, oh, sorry that I asked. Have your moment, and we get quiet so we don't say anything harmful or hurtful to each other. And then he came back and apologized and was like, I apologize. That was not towards you. It just was frustrating me in that moment. And I was like, okay, can we get back on our unicorn and ride the rainbow now, So in this, yes, I provide the good fruits that he needs. Here you go. But, hold on. Oh, my God. Now you gotta ask me.
This is Van. Kim, are the fruits that I provide for you enough?
No. Not at all. Until you give me my house.
That's the only thing. I knew that's what she was going.
Just like, absolutely, yes.
Just hearing that, just knowing, and I'm my hardest critic. I'm always hard on myself. So for me to be with a person like Kim, like she said, she's like
a lot. In
a good way. And I just have to, like I told her all the time, I said, look, I'm the producer, you the actor, you just go ahead and have fun. I'm behind the scenes, go ahead and do you. But it's just to hear that I'm actually doing what is needed for my wife. It brings me excitement because knowing that I'm my hardest critic. Because I wake up every day thinking, am I doing the right things to make my wife happy. Even though she gets up, same attitude, same smile, wakes me up every morning, and I'm like, every morning it just reassures, yep, I'm doing what I was supposed to do. But it's just like hearing it sometimes that makes me feel that way. I mean, it's make me feel like it's a good thing. And just another point with me, like when it comes to fruit, like me being, and this is crazy, me being a trainer, and we're talking about fruit. For me, it's kind of like we put things in our bodies that we don't really. Sometimes we put things in our bodies that we don't really need. And when it comes to fruit, and then when it comes to producing, fruit is natural from the earth that will give us nutrients that we need to produce to anything. Energy, if you need detox, if you need it provides everything that you need in life, brain health. So when I'm looking at the word fruit and produce, what is that fruit going to produce for you? What is that fruit doing for you that's going to help you get to that next level? And with the fruits that me and my wife have, it's continuing to how much of this do I need today for me to get through the day? How much do I need to dial back, or I need to take this out of my diet today? I don't need this today. I want this. So it's just more of knowing when to put it in and when not to put it in. And for, like you said about communication, the communication piece is where we come in and always, hey babe, and she'll let me know 100%, 1000% if I'm right or wrong. It's no cut cards in my relationship. So it's just to the point, I'll know that, okay, I know body language. When she gets quiet, leave her alone. When she calls my name, I need to be around her. So I know what I need to put out and what I need to pull back. So it's just knowing, like you said, like knowing just communicating with your partner, knowing at that moment what they need and when they need it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just more of like just knowing what nutrients to put in at the right time to give you that right boost in that situation that's gonna make you produce and be a better person to the world, and you being just pouring out to other people.
All right, good. That's good. I'm glad that all of y'all are producing the fruit that your partner needs. Jalen, is she producing the fruit that you need? He said she sure is. All right, good. Now that solidifies it. That's 100. We got 100% up in here. But the whole gist of this is, because as we heard in the beginning, right? Like I said, you have fruit in the relationship, fruit of the relationship. You can't even produce fruit in the relationship if you can't produce fruit for yourself. So we got to be constantly producing fruit for ourselves and producing fruit for our partner. And what I want y'all to consider is, like, you hear the fruit that you produce for yourself and the fruit that your partner produces for you. And when you bring that together, what exactly is that we offer to the world? Like you hit on it early. Jason hit on it like first time around the circle or something. Like what we as a couple, what do we have to offer people? What we're doing for other people, like helping them do that. And even Juan said earlier, he said, all relationships are supposed to produce something. It's not saying that everybody's supposed to minister to couples or everybody's supposed to build a Wegmans or a Walmart, these big businesses that service people. He said it could even be as simple as the perfect picture of love. And that's what some people just have. Like they look at your relationship and be like, man, I want what Jalen and Diamond have. Like that gives me hope. People see that and like, man, that gives me hope, because I think one of y'all said it, like you didn't see the good relationship growing up. Like everybody you knew that was married ended up getting divorced or just not getting married, period. But so when you see couples that, man, we've been together for 12 years. We've been together since the dawn of time. We've been together for 2 years and we love each other just like the people that have been together since the dawn of time. People see that and they're like, man, that's what I want. And so even if it's just posing that perfect picture of love, it's producing something. But we still got to realize you can't even pose that perfect picture of love if you ain't producing in the relationship. And so the system that he was just showing me is continue to produce in yourself, continue to produce for your partner, and then by default you could produce